Hey y'all, it's me, Shannon Ivy. Wouldn't it be cool if I asked a beloved Natalie Daise to come on the What She Said project cast? Wouldn't that be cool? What do you think about that, Natalie?
I think it would be cool. So let's do it.
All of a sudden I was like, oh no, did my internet go down again? Y'all, they're trimming trees in my neighborhood because we both live in South Carolina. And that's like a thing we do. But that's not the cool part of, I mean, it's nice. Thank you for trimming the trees. Wouldn't it be cool if Natalie Daise just opened a new exhibit at the South Carolina State Museum? Wouldn't it be cool if there were some kids that now are famous on the walls of the museum? Wouldn't that be cool? Natalie Daise, welcome to the What She Said project podcast. Here we go. Here we go.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm excited because all of that is so cool. It is
Oh,
so.
it's so cool. Can we begin by telling the folks we're going to start from the present and then we're going to go back. Because today I want to talk with you about legacy and about really big ideas and how they come to fruition.
Okay.
So, recently, was it last Thursday, your newest exhibit, or Friday, your newest exhibit opened? Can you tell the folks who may not be aware of this a little bit about what just opened?
Friday, the 26th of September, when I see myself, I see an exhibit at the South Carolina State Museum opened to the public. It is one of the most fulfilling projects I've ever dreamed up. Um, I had the opportunity to travel around the state of South Carolina and interview eighth graders who were participating in a program called Gear Up. That's a TRIO program to support students in what we might call underserved areas as they move from elementary school and through graduation. And they pick the students up in sixth grade and they get a coach, and that coach stays with them until they graduate. And I had the opportunity to travel around the state and talk to 21 of them, just one-on-one, occasionally a couple of students at a time, about who they saw when they saw themselves. Who did they think they were? What dreams and ideas did they have? Just, we talked about everything. We talked about everything. And my friend who was a photographer traveled with me. And then I took tons of photos, and then I painted each one's portrait. I painted each one's portrait. And then I went to SCE-TV, which is the South Carolina Educational TV, and I met with the woman who was over the education programs, and I said, wouldn't it be cool if you could do a documentary about these students? And she said, Dr. Salandra Bowman, that would be so cool. And so she signed on. And then I talked to my dear friend, Dr. Jackson, who's the cultural curator at the South Carolina State Museum. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if, and everybody thought that would be so cool. And they all came together, and Gear Up approved the project. And I traveled for months around the state, having really wonderful conversations with amazing people who were 13, 14 years old, who talked about who they really were and what they really thought. And then it all came together. It all came together. And when the exhibit opened, there was video on screens that told their stories in digital and their interviews with them at SCE-TV. And there were portraits of each child that I painted. And there were their quotes, things they said. And we even did a book. I should have brought the book. Oh my goodness, I didn't bring the book, but there's a
Oh,
book. And it's wonderful. Oh my goodness, it's wonderful. And the
I
students were there. So
I am astounded. Like people, it's so fun to like know you and then to watch people talk about you. And then it's fun to hear you talk about yourself and it's fun to hear your kids talk about you. So I get to like be in the mix. And what they said, every time they introduced you, they used a different word that night. They
mm.
would say things like, she's magic. What do you think about that when you hear people call you magic?
You know, it's funny, if they called me magic, I didn't hear it, or I didn't focus, or didn't register. That's interesting because I've always believed in magic. Uh, when I was a little girl, I read fairy tales, and they were real to me. I had no doubt that I might turn and at the corner of my eye, a magical creature might just be darting just out of sight. Um, so I always believed that there was magic, there were things that you couldn't see, but that were real.
Hmm.
So it's interesting to have people describe me that way. Um, that's
They
uh,
did
yeah,
twice. I heard it twice.
really, really,
So,
really. Okay. How
yeah, and
come
so
I don't know how I let that go over, but
yeah.
if not so magic, certainly there's this author, and I can't remember his name, he's an artist, and he says creativity may seem is magical, but it's not magic. And I think that's it. I think that people who don't understand creative process, to them it looks like it's magic. And because from the outside, that's what it looks like. It looks like you said, an abracadabra, look, boom. And that's not what happens. But, it looks like that from out there, maybe.
I'm thinking about the way you described the project. And
Mhm.
I, just because I know a little bit about it, it's so fascinating because at one point the book was the end. Well, the book and the paintings was the end.
Mhm.
And then it would be okay. And that was huge. I mean, that's huge work. But then all of
Mhm.
a sudden there was this whole video. There's like it had another leg to go.
Yes.
So that's just fascinating because projects, you and I were joking before we started the recording that we met at a not so amazing business course, so many years ago.
Mhm.
And a part of what you and I both talk about a lot is like there's like business metrics that are kind of like for people like us, we're like KPIs, return on blah, blah, blah. It's just like, oh, business. The negotiation is a good part of this process and like dreaming up enough resources to have it be able to expand, right? So you and I talk about that a lot.
Mhm.
So I just need to know from your magical brain, how tiny did this still reverberating idea, how tiny was it when you first met this cool idea?
When I first met this cool idea, it was a book. And it was a book with art and about process. This is how an idea becomes a thing, something to share with students. And when I proposed it, it was rejected. Um, the organization said, honestly, she said, kids don't read books. I was like, yeah, okay. But then I didn't let it go. I thought about it. I said, well, what is it that we do love? What is it that we do love? How do we engage with information? How do we engage with ideas? Well, there are lots of ways to do that. So how big can I dream it? And so I wrote up like the biggest dream, like, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll create a social media hashtag, and we'll put it in all the social media things. So when I see myself, I see, so that children who engage with ideas that way. And then, then wouldn't it be cool if I could get a documentary about it? That would be really cool. Now, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't even know, but like that idea. And then, I always want, if I'm going to paint these children, they should be in exhibits. And so my first thought was, well, these are children all around the state, and maybe, partnerships with businesses in their community would be willing to exhibit the pieces. Um, but I don't know how to do that. I don't live in some of these communities. I mean, I was driving 3 or 4 hours to get to them. Uh, but wouldn't it be cool if? And so, the thing that I sold, Shannon, was the idea. I didn't have, I didn't have the mechanics, but I had the idea. Like, wouldn't this be cool? Here's what I can do. What can you do? And so they said, okay, well, what we can do is we can fund it, and we will develop partnerships. That's what they said they would do in the community for exhibit. Um, they did not, but they funded it. And then what they did do was they said, okay, well, we've got lots of schools. We've got like 25, 26 schools we'll let our coaches select a child, because I didn't want to do it.
Right.
So that's what they did. And then, because I was excited, then I went to somebody else and sold the idea. And that's how I went to SCTV. And I didn't know who to go to. I did not know who to go to, but I had an acquaintance who I traveled with once, so I know she worked there, and I reached out to her, and she said, "Oh, well, you should talk to this person." And so I reached out to them, and then I had a Zoom like we're doing, and then I got in my car and I drove up. And with the museum, I had not even considered the State Museum. I had not even considered it. I wasn't sure, I'd had a relationship with some smaller museums, regional, and it so happened that the State Museum had acquired a series of mine, which I was very proud of and very excited about. And they wanted to do a talk with some of their patrons, et cetera, about that acquisition. And we did it here in my studio. And as I was sitting there talking on a Zoom, there was a painting of one of the children behind me. And somebody said, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, let me tell you what I'm doing." And they said, "It would be so cool if we could exhibit that." And so now, it caught on. And I had to I had to write a proposal for it to them. And I drove up there and I met with their acquisition and their exhibit team. And by the time I did that, I painted everything, and I had gotten prints, and I took them up there and I said, "Let me tell you the stories of these children." And it all came together. Listen, it would have been great if, like a business, first get this working, you do that. What is the proof of that? Blah, 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 blah. It didn't work that way. It worked that each time I had a piece, I could take that piece and the idea and sell it and sell that. And then I had another piece and I took that, and I bundled it up and I sold that. I didn't think of it as sales, but if we're talking in terms of business, it was a sale of an idea. It was I'm imagining things catching fire,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
rekindling.
And it's still going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you imagine you like look back and forward? We're going to Sankofa look back and we're going to dream forward. Do
Mhm.
you imagine ever doing it the business plan first way?
The proposal was sort of a business plan. I actually did a whole pitch deck when I first went to Gear to say I'd like to do this. And so it was sort of like a business plan. But what it didn't have, because I had no funding in place,
Right.
I wanted their money.
Yes.
So I did say, this is what I believe it can be. This is what I would love for it to be. But so we might call that a business plan. I've taken courses on business plans and they're like, you're doing the comparison. How do you compare art? There's no competition.
How do you compare changing a kid's life?
Right. And there's nothing to compare it to. There's just like, I had a talk with the woman who directed the program recently because we had some challenges.
Sure.
And I said to her, "I understand some of your difficulty because what I was asking you to do and what I was presenting was something that had never been done. So if it's never been done, how are we going to compare it?
Right.
If you've never seen it,
Right.
it's not like you're saying, we're selling houses on the street and we're doing a comparison of sales. It's not like that. Um, this thing rode on my passion. This thing rode on my belief. So maybe my magic, my ability to conjure up something. And
That ripples and like
got so much bigger than me, got so much bigger than my idea, so that when this gallery opened, there's the head of SCETV standing there. There's the director of the museum standing there. There's someone from the university that houses the Gear Up project standing there. There's the director of that program standing there. And there are at least 12 or 13, 14 of those students and their mamas and their daddies and their cousins and people who took off from work.
yeah.
to drive there with their children,
Yep.
standing in that room. People who had never been in the museum before, people who had no idea they could be on television.
Yeah.
In that room. There was a student I met with you. If you remember, I'd gone to an exhibit that opened at the library, and I met there an artist. He was 18.
Yeah.
And I stood in front of his work with him, and I was like, hey, you want to come to this opening? And he and his mama and his sister came. And for him, he's an 18-year-old artist, and to say, oh, look what I can do. Look what I can do. Because if Natalie could do it, he could do it. And and so many people said to me, I had stopped painting, I had stopped creating, but maybe I'll pick up a brush. Maybe I'll go back to that song I was writing, an idea
Yeah.
could become a thing. So yes, and that stuff, you can't business plan that. It's like sometimes I would do workshops and people would say, what's the outcome? And I would say, how would I know?
Oh, and when you talk about this, it gives me, it's like a balm on my creative heart. I don't know, but it's gonna be good. I'm picking up some. I also tell you something funny. I haven't told you this yet. So I'm sitting with your family, and a woman came over and invited us to do the QR code at the table at the reception. So it's like me, Sarah, Ron, Simeon. We were avoiding all of Simeon's fans and eating some chicken tenders. And we were all like, oh, well, sure. Everyone was like, sure, we'll take your QR code. And in that QR code, it really wanted me to assess my experience. Do you know, like people do? Like I
Mhm.
understand they have to report back. And I
Mhm.
just was like, wow, I wish I had helped them ask questions to assess really
Mhm.
I mean, we don't know the impact,
Right.
but it's fascinating. And we all did it. I mean, all of us sitting there, your family, Sarah and I did it. We all did the thing. Benita did it. We all are trying to comply because we're like, we want more of this. So if we say, this is amazing, my life has changed. I think I'll move into the State Museum. I love these folks. Where do I sign on I don't know. How do you assess it? And I just sat there thinking, sitting with your whole family of like, I I just hope people are as gobsmacked as I am because watching it both start from a residency, but you've always been asking these questions of wouldn't it be cool if? I remember when you asked, wouldn't it be cool if I was in a museum? Was it like
Yeah.
5 years ago you said that? And
It
it
was,
just was like, you're like, I don't know how I'm gonna get there.
yes, as a matter of fact, Bonita, you mentioned, I had been talking maybe to you even before, and I was doing a residency with Bonita. You had introduced us. I was doing, oh my God, an exhausting residency where I foolishly decided in a week we were going to create projects with like first and second graders. What was I thinking? And I needed help. Couldn't do it by myself because you know what happens. The teachers say, here are the kids, and they go off, and you're in there. And anyway, I started talking about how
Yes.
much I wanted to be acquired in a museum. And I had done several solo shows by then. I've done several solo art shows, and I'm proud and happy. I wanted to be acquired by a museum. And I found like when I do a show at a museum, it's very different than doing a show at, say, at a gallery, just in terms of how they
Mm.
react and respond. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if I could do that? I have no idea how to do that. No idea. Um, and then this opportunity came, which I didn't even know. Once again, I had no idea. So in 2023, a young woman who's a chef was doing participating in the Charleston Wine and Foods Festival, and she wanted to do an event called Matriarchs of the Low Country, where she honored Gullah Geechee women who had contributed to the food culture in South Carolina. And she wanted to include me. And I was like, why? I don't cook, y'all. I don't cook. But I think maybe, I don't know why. And maybe it's because I paint collard greens a lot. They show up in my work, part of the story of the food culture. And so at first, honestly, I was like, I don't even think y'all should be including me. And then I worked with my discomfort and I said, what would make me feel comfortable? Well, I looked at the other women, there were 6 who were being honored, and I had such respect for them. And I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I could paint a portrait of each of these women? Wouldn't that be cool? And I may have even said that to you. Wouldn't that be cool? So then I did a proposal. So
Yeah.
there's a little business piece, right? I wrote a proposal to
Yep.
the people at the Charleston Wine and Food, and I said, I would love to paint a portrait of each of these women to be unveiled at the event. And I had a numbers. It would cost X number of dollars for me to paint their portrait. Now, if you want to keep it and buy it, it would cost Z number of dollars. What do you think? And they said yes. So their yes paid for the process, and I painted these things, and it was such a joy, such a pleasure to research each of them. I knew a couple of them, and to paint their portraits. We revealed, it was a big reveal before the dinner. Oh, they were so pleased and honored and excited. I made prints for them, and families got the prints. And then I didn't know what I was going to do with the paintings because they didn't decide to buy them. And I took them back and I put them in storage. And then Amethyst Ganaway, the chef, was talking to the gentleman, Ramon Jackson, at the museum about an event where they celebrate the foods of South Carolina and the foodways. And she said, Natalie Daise painted portraits. And then I get an email. I was like, wouldn't it be cool? And they acquired them. They bought the whole series and they're on permanent display.
As you go, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
They're like, as you go, it's like Natalie is everywhere in this museum. I remember when I first went to that museum with my child, and like the shark was the big attraction, right? You go look at the big shark, and then you look at other things. And then, I've been around, I've had a friend be a curator, I guess that was his title there. So, I know a little bit about it, but your influence and your collaborations have changed the experience of this museum for the people going in the best way. But there was a theme I wanted to connect to. This is just like you and I can talk process all day, but we're catching when does the proposal come in? So I have a question for you. Which version of a proposal do you normally send to someone? Is it like do you get it on the first one? Do you how does your proposal?
When I See Myself was not the first one. That was it took a revision and a little time to rethink, to listen to. The first one was a rejection of just a book. And
is that the one you didn't include yourself on?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. And then I just thought bigger. I thought, what impact do I actually really want this to have? And also, when the Obamas commissioned their portraits, there was an artist whose work I admire who did Michelle Obama's portrait. And I thought, well, that's really wonderful. I could have done that, I can paint. I'm a great portrait artist. I could paint important people. But the experience of painting the people who I do paint, I was like, but these are important people. These are important people. They're just as important. So I began to think about it in that way as well. So then when I created this new proposal, I thought much bigger. And that's interesting because sometimes, you think, well, oh, maybe I should think smaller.
Yeah.
And instead, I tripled the price of the project. I tripled.
Which made room for more collaborators. Do you know?
Yes.
It made room for you, it made room for photographers and videographers. It just made room. Like when I think about this a lot, because that's another thing that's coming really, you have a knack of wouldn't it be cool if, and collaborators come to you, like as you
Mhm.
talked about the people that are now claiming like this is their also their project. That's so
Yeah.
Natalie Daise. It's community, and these
Mhm.
people show up and
Yeah.
continue to bring it forward. So without that tripled budget, there would
Yeah.
have been room
There
for.
would not have been room. And I still did a great deal of labor
Yeah,
myself.
you did.
But also I could not by myself, I couldn't have done the SCETV videos and interviews. I couldn't have hung a show. That gallery was gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Spoke to oh dear, Jeremy, who painted the gallery for
Oh,
the show. And he said to me, this is the first time he's been able to take an exhibit from conception and it meant so much to him. From the time I first talked to them about it to that he did that. And then Matthew, who did, there's some AI-ish, that's not what they call it, stuff. There's a video they created where some of the paintings
oh.
come alive.
It is astonishing. Megan was like, oh, she's so proud of this graphics. It's on the wall. Like we got to see all the students stand there and get applauded. But they took pieces of your art and made them move. And it was on this huge wall. It was gorgeous.
Yes. And I couldn't have done that.
Nope.
But when the videographer from SCETV said, wow, you know what would be really cool? It'd be cool. Well, first the guy at the museum said it'd really be great if they could be alive. And then the videographer said, "Oh, hey, Ronnie Henderson, I know what. Maybe we can do X if I could only find this person." And then somebody on the museum staff said, "Well, maybe I can do it." I, oh, girl, I love that so much. I love when creativity creates community. Oh, I love it.
Oh, it's like, okay, I have this thing about elephants. Matriarchal elephants, the male elephants come in, do what they need to do, and they leave. But the matriarchs, it's like they move it forward in a circle. And if you're injured or you're a baby or you're an elder, you go in the middle. But all of a sudden, I was watching your elephant circles come around your idea and then
Mhm.
move it forward together.
Yes.
And there were moments when you might have needed to come into the center, or maybe another member came into the center and needed a little Ronnie time. There's like who all the people that brought this thing forward. It just wouldn't it be cool if all of these people worked together? And we can say that and put it in a business plan, but that's not how this thing happened. It was organic.
It was organic. It was organic. It caught fire. It glowed. Now we have this whole wonderful campfire keeping so many people warm. Everybody brought their wood and added it to the flame. Everybody brought their fuel and added it to the flame. And so it's so much bigger than I could have done by myself. It's from my idea. I just did that first,
Wouldn't it be cool?
wouldn't it be cool? That's, that my motto, um, a few years ago when we started working together was, I am the light of the world.
Yeah.
City that is set on a hill cannot be hid. And it's a Bible verse. I grew
Yeah.
up like you, fundamentalist.
Yeah.
And I had been trying to find a motto like Natalie is a great artist. None of it felt right, but that felt right. That always feels right.
Yeah.
And to be a light to go, you know, and
Yeah.
for it to catch. I mean, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I I hope that people that are listening to this, like obviously you're Natalie Daise, and if folks don't know who you are, I remember telling you at that business course, I remember being like, does he know who you are? And you're so humble and so nice. I mean, Natalie, you're just so nice. And you're like, I don't think so. And I'm like, but that's the way you work. It's like you both know who you are, like you know who you are. But
Mhm.
then, like, you walk into rooms and you just say, well, almost like a playmate. Wouldn't it be cool if? And you like see who comes to play. And
Yes.
sometimes playmates leave, and that's fine. They're like, this is not for them. Sometimes they have to struggle with their lack of feeling connected to their playfulness or their expansive thinking, and that's okay because you just keep showing up being like, what if? Do you want to
Yeah.
play? There's like this
That
forever.
like, come and let's play together for real. Come on, let's
Yeah.
let's see what happens. Let's see what happens if we bring our best selves to this thing. Let's see what happens.
Big things happen.
Yeah.
How do you, okay, I could talk to you forever, but I think people that are listening, I think it would be important to note that the world's on fire
Yeah.
and it affects all of us.
Hmm.
And this moment with you, I'm feeling like, oh, I need to sit down and just let myself, wouldn't it be cool if? Like that sort of time. How do you tap into that space when there's difficult, scary things going on outside you?
Oh, Shannon, it can be very hard.
I know, but hearing you
I
say
have,
that is good.
yeah, it can be very hard. I have practices. I mean, there are mornings I wake up and I know the world is on fire and I don't know what to do. My
Mm-hmm.
practice is one, I'm a journaler.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I write my way to some space where I can breathe.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I do, because I am very capable and I'm able-bodied and very grateful for that, is that I take
Mm-hmm.
a walk. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's not something everyone can do, but I can, and I'm grateful for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of the gratitude, and the gratitude can be very hard. I learned that from my grandmother, who endured many things. She would always like just start listing things she's grateful for. And sometimes that's very hard because I'm like, who am I grateful to for this? What? But it helps me a little bit, even if it's simple. I am grateful for that. At this moment, I have shelter. I'm grateful that this morning I had water. I'm grateful that this morning I can still breathe. I'm grateful. And somehow it kind of opens up a little space.
Mm-hmm.
It opens up a little space in which sometimes the light can come in. And thinking about light, I got to tell you, it was just this week as I was journaling, woke up, was like, what the hell? Uh, I was thinking about light. And I was thinking that I look up in the sky and I see the light from stars that have burned out eons ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I see the light because the
Mm-hmm.
light, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go out. It can't be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very possible that the light that I am emitting now, the light that I emitted last week, the light that I emitted last year, the light that this show emits will not go out. It will continue. And so I think that's good. That's good. Um, Energy is neither created nor destroyed. So just like I can look up at the sky and see a star that's no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
My work continues, your work continues, even in this darkness, even in this insanity. I take a deep breath and say, okay, my job, as long as I am able,
Mm-hmm.
is to be light and to trust that if the time comes when I am not able,
Mm-hmm.
it's still there,
Mm-hmm.
traveling away from me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got through this week, girl. That and a really good session at the gym today.
Yes. Natalie Daise, when you see yourself, what do you see?
Oh, people have been asking me that lately, and it's so funny. I'm
But
like,
just today, how do you see, what do you
me
see today?
today. Today, I see a woman committed to the shine.
Mm.
That's who I see today. A woman with such gratitude for the privileges of today. And you know, a privilege is something you have not earned.
That's right.
It's just something granted you somehow through grace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am healthy.
Mhm.
Um, I have clean water to drink.
Mm.
I have shelter and space in which to create.
Mm.
And so I am going to acknowledge my gratitude for that. And I'm going to remember that I am the light of the world, a city that is set on a hill and cannot be hid. And so let my light so shine that others may see it. That's what I see today. I mean, I had a moment. I made the mistake, came home from the gym, took a shower, looked at the news feed. Oh, crap.
Yep.
Mm. Immediately went from, whoo, I lifted heavy to, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, that does not diminish my light. It does not. I was listening to Clarissa Pinkola Estes today
Mm.
while I was walking, and she was quoting an elder who said something like, there's nothing so foolish as a large group, and there's nothing so wise as a large group, more or less, and that we can get together and be greatly foolish together, or we can get together and be really wise together. And when I look at the things that are fueling the foolishness, and what's fueling the foolishness, really, honestly, truly, are stories. Stories that
Yes.
are being
Yep.
told around certain types of campfires, and people are going, oh,
Yep.
but I am an excellent storyteller.
Yes, you are.
I am an excellent storyteller. So there are different stories that can be told. And I'm going to tell them. That's what I think today. Mm-hmm.
Natalie Daise, you are a luminary, and I am so glad to know you in this life. If folks, let's just say folks were like, wouldn't it be cool if, and they want to like send you a like big idea proposal, like a collaborative thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a portrait artist and you sometimes do that work, but let's just say somebody's listening, like a funder or someone who would want to collaborate. How do
Mm-hmm.
they get in touch with you?
Oh, I'm so easy to find, really. Yeah, Google me. But my name is Natalie Daise. I have a website, nataliedaise.com. I have a website, nataliedaiseart.com. On social media, I'm known as Gullah Mama.
Yes.
Now, let me let y'all know with DMs, there's a whole
We
lot
don't
of
see
unopened
them. You
DMs.
don't see them.
I'm like, And with TikTok, listen, I did a TikTok, it blew up. All of a sudden, there's like hundreds of thousands of people, scared me to death. I closed it. It's like, close the close the tablet, run away, run away. So it'd probably be better to go through my websites where
Yep.
there's a connect with me,
Yep. Yep.
because then it'll give me an email, and emails aren't as scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be scared. So do that. And we can talk. I love big ideas. I love big ideas. I love big ideas that come with funding.
That's it. But we also, we who have been listening and like learning from you through this podcast, and like I've gotten to walk beside you for a little while, we know that the idea is first,
Yes.
and then it needs germination. It needs, like both of us have gardens, like it needs some roots before we shine a proposal on it, because
Right.
that light can be like the South Carolina heat and can whack, or some
Yes.
early criticism.
Mhm.
It needs its circle, right? And as it
Mhm.
grows, the circle grows. So yep,
Mhm.
you're
I mean,
amazing. I
simply,
can't wait
someone
to see
asked
what's
me,
next.
yeah, someone asked me at the gallery about painting, how long does a painting take? And I said, well, see, the part that takes the longest is the idea. The part that takes the longest is looking at it and thinking, what is this? What am I trying to say? What is the story? That's what takes the longest. And nobody can see that part. Um, Once I start moving it to the canvas or the board, I've done the hard, the challenging part. I mean, there's still the challenge of,
Yep.
of realizing the vision, but the visioning is the thing. Um,
Yep. And that's the very special, I mean, not that everybody uses pregnancy, but
Mhm.
that's the very special gestational part. It takes the time it takes, do you know, which for
Yeah,
some zippy people like you and me, sometimes it's like, oh, why is this taking so long?
right.
And it needs what it needs.
It needs what it needs. When I See Myself, I See was conceived in the fall of 2023. The exhibit opened in the fall of 2025.
With how big it is, that's astounding. That's only 2 years.
It's only, let me tell you, girl, there were some times where I was like, is it ever gonna happen?
I
Only
remember
two
the part
years.
where you were like, when do I see the kids? I remember like that was like there was this whole like, oh my gosh, we're moving forward, but I need to get to the children.
There was a communication gap so that the organization who funded it just sort of disappeared for a while. And I'm like, we're doing paintings, but I no longer have the connect with the students. And it was about and for the students. And what am I going to do? And they trusted me. They told me their stories. And I don't know how to, and I was trying all kinds of things, and then that window opened up again.
I
So
love this story and I adore you.
well, thank
Thank you for
you.
coming. I'm like trying to be cool, but y'all, I have no cool when it comes to this human being and her work and her family. None at all. Oh, I think we're starting Gullah Geechee month today. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, it starts in October. So hey, Gullah Geechee month and your family. I'm sure y'all are
Yeah.
busy doing all the things for all the people, but thank you for spending some time with me today. And
A pleasure.
I can't wait to see what's next.
Me too.
I love those texts. You're like, hey, you got a minute? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I have no idea what's next, Shannon. I have no idea.
I love and hate this part of the process for you. And
Mhm.
I know it's coming.
Yeah.
You can't have planted so many seeds. And I know you. And there will be this moment where I'm going to get that text.
Yeah.
It's coming. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Shannon.
Talk to you soon.